if any of you came to our parish mission, and so many of you did that we packed this church every night, you know that Father Jim likes to take selfies. And if you were with us last weekend at Mass, you know that he is particularly proud of his selfie with the Pope. Me? Well, perhaps I'm not doing it right. But when I take a selfie, somehow the size of my face and head always looks a little distorted to me. Maybe I just do look that bad all the time and I'm just not aware of it. Anyway, I took a selfie with Father Jim at the end of the Sunday's presentation, and afterwards did something that, I don't usually do. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it's the beginning of Lent. But after I got past how big my head seemed, I just kind of looked at myself and wondered about who I was under that face that I was seeing. Who am I, really? That is actually a good Lenten question for each of us. Below the surface, who is that person? And we don't have to be looking at a picture to do this. Who am I? Who are you? To help us get at that, let me tell you of a conversation I had with a woman a while back who wasn't so proud of the ways she had been acting. She'd been kind of beaten up by life and wasn't always handling it so well. Her spiritual director asked, "You were made in the image and likeness of God, were you not?" "Yes." "Can you let that say something about who you really are?" And here's what I want you to do. I want you to go home and write a little bit about who you really are. The woman wrote, in part, "Deep down, I am good because God is good. In my heart of hearts, I am compassionate because God is compassionate." And she ended with, "At my deepest, like God, I am love." Whoa, she got it. She had gotten to her true self, to that which is most real in her and about her. In the ongoing human quest to discover who we really are, we need to look for God here. For God has put some of God within us. That's there from that moment when God first thought of us, through all of our lives, at our last breath, and into eternity. It's what has been called the immortal diamond at the core of who we are. In today's gospel, we hear all about temptation, and in particular, the temptations of Jesus Christ in the desert. Now, I think most of us tend to think of temptations as being pulled towards something bad. But as is clear from the gospel story of the temptations of Jesus, temptations is less a pull towards something, but more a pull away from something, away from who we really are. Jesus was tempted to go away from his true self, from who he really was. When he was asked to turn stones to bread, He was being tempted to move from a deeper life to a more superficial life, a shallow life of his own comfort instead of the depth of the relationship at the heart of God. When the devil said to him, "Bow down before me and I will give you all this power and glory," Jesus was tempted to forget that at his core, his life was for others and was not ultimately about him. And when the devil said, "Throw yourself down and angels will protect you," Jesus was being tempted to go away from his true humanity to the wrong kind of power. It was just not who Jesus truly is. Temptation for Jesus was this pulling away from who he was at his core. And it is exactly the same for us. You and I are always being tempted to go away from who we really are. I mean, temptations are all false lights that attract us away from the true light. In other words, the temptation is to forget how truly good we are, how truly loving we are. We are. Jesus was able to resist those temptations in the desert that day by remembering who he really was. But the temptations would keep coming. The scriptures say, the devil left him for a time. And the temptations will keep coming for us as well. As has been said, opportunity only knocks once. Temptation leans on the doorbell. This temptation away from our true selves is unrelenting. And I know that personally, when someone treats me like a jerk, my immediate temptation is to want to be a jerk back. But that would be to forget that at my core, I am not like that. I really am not. I mean, yes, I need to set boundaries. But my deepest and truest self, made in the image and likeness of God, is to be kind and forgiving and true. And when we are tempted in our marriages to be unfaithful, to steal at work, to pick on that new kid at school, to be all about more money and more stuff, or to be mean, we're being tempted to be someone that we're really not. And those things might seem like a good idea in the moment, but they aren't. They are not the path to our best and most joyful selves. It's really hard, though. I get it. It's one of the gifts of the disciplines of Lent. We need to sit with that which is unfulfilled in us so that we can learn to not knee-jerk a response. We spend time in solitude and faith sharing and Bible study to remember again who we really are in both individually and collectively. And we need to act ourselves into a new way of being. I mean, and thinking, like, for example, when we are generous with the poor, we remember that, oh yeah, that's who I really am. I am generous. And when we remember, like that woman did, that at our core we are good, that we are compassionate, that we are loving, something changes in us. And when I look at that selfie I just took with you, I will know this. No matter how good you look in the picture, I'll know underneath who you really are. I know who you really are. And there is no greater joy than to be who we truly are, alone or with others, as often as we can for the rest of our lives. This is peace. This is a meaningful life. This is joy.